podcast where me, Andy, and my co-host Dave discuss a retro video game and try and pair it with a cocktail. For today's episode, we'll be talking about the Mega Drive classic Toejam Earl. We do have to confess before we even start that we didn't get to play this in co-op mode, and I know a lot of people believe that's the best way to play it. We unfortunately didn't have the opportunity to do that, but do please keep listening to hear Dave and my thoughts on the most 90s video game I have ever played, Toejam Earl. Tell me what you love deeply about Toejam. Tell me why you chose it, why you wanted to revisit it.
I think one of the big things is the music and just the overall feel of the game. Like that idea that you're not killing everything. You're at risk from a lot of things in this bizarre fucking game world. But it's just that element of exploration, not knowing the layout of the levels as well. Any game of the same period, the levels would be handcrafted and exactly the same every time you played it.
Yes.
Which this isn't. And then you get the randomized elements of not knowing what present you're opening until you've opened it. And even then, it gets randomized.
Yeah.
It's a very, very fond memory in my mind. And I wanted to see if it was still a game that I would enjoy. Which I did immensely. As soon as I started playing it, I knew what I was doing, how to play it, where to go. And I'd probably rip through it a lot quicker than I ever did back in 1991 or 92, which it probably was. It's always been one of those games that I've always thought, I'd love to play that again, sit down and play that again one day. But also, because you'd never played it, I thought that's an interesting find, is a retro game that you've never played, you've never picked it up. And it's a fairly big name.
Yes, absolutely. I'd absolutely heard of it a lot, and not just from you. It's one of those, it's a well-known game, and I think that certainly, it wasn't massively successful at the time. It eventually made its money back. It launched very quietly, but built up over time. And obviously it made enough to get a sequel.
Yeah.
I'd absolutely heard of it, but just never, and I guess it's that thing, isn't it? I don't know what it is.
Yeah. I've got a similar thing with a lot of SNES games. My total playtime on the SNES is very limited. The games I've played a lot, but, in terms of playing, for a couple of hours playing something that someone else has got, didn't really have that so much.
Yeah.
But again, we go back to how many games could you afford to buy when you're a kid at that age? Not many.
No, absolutely. And then they said they were so expensive, and we were young, and I think, the end of the SNES era and the sort of beginning of the PlayStation era was when I guess we started to have money, and so it was good times. Things were, quite well paid for first jobs and stuff like that, and I think that made a difference. Certainly the PlayStation came along at the right time for me personally.
Yeah.
And that's when I started to, buy lots and lots of games. And that's probably the start of me, because I've got PlayStation games that I bought at the time, because I had that experience with the SNES where I traded a whole load of games and then regretted it fairly quickly afterwards. So I didn't trade much at all for my PlayStation, because that was still, and I've been, without ever calling myself a collector, I have been collecting games ever since.
Yeah. Intentionally or otherwise.
Yeah, I'm about to hit 1,500 physical games.
Fucking hell.
And so, but I've never considered myself a collector. I never pick up a game without wanting to play it and experience and know it.
Yeah.
You've picked games before, mate.
Mm-hmm.
You really wanted to play, and then you played them again, and you didn't like them very much.
Yes, that's right.
How do you feel about Toejam Earl?
I still love it.
Yeah?
It's a great game. It's just so much fun. It's so stupid. It's just, there's no pretense to it. You know what I mean?
No.
It's good, simple, clean fun. Because I never owned it.
Did you not?
Interestingly enough. This is one of those games that I hold in high regard. I never actually owned it. I rented it once for a long week. I think it's a bank holiday weekend or something. And played it through. Played it all the way to completion. And I think as many good memories of it that I have are all from that one weekend of playing it. I still hold it in high regard and still really enjoyed it playing it now, because all the things that I remember being good and fun and interesting about the game are still good and fun and interesting. There's some really, really lovely little touches in this game. So how much of it did you manage to play?
I got to point, I think I collected 5 bits of my spaceship.
Oh, okay. Not bad.
So I played it a decent amount.
Mm-hmm. And then what did you think?
I managed to play it a decent amount for one reason and one reason only.
Mm-hmm.
because on the Steam Deck, if you press your R trigger, it fast forwards.
Oh, okay.
So you can, not at a Steam Deck, this is on Steam actually, it's not just a Steam Deck, it's the version on Steam, which is what I've been playing it on.
Is this the Mega Drive Classics thing?
Yes, via the Mega Drive Classics, which is a great program I've had for a little while. I didn't realise I've got Gunstar. I think probably got it for Gunstar Heroes. But yeah, so this is my first experience, and I couldn't deal with how slow it was.
Really?
Yeah, I really, really struggled with the pace.
Mm-hmm.
Like more than anything else. Really, I mean, because I played as Toejam as well, so he's the faster of the two. Obviously, I tried Earl, but I just, you look at a map, right, and you're at the bottom of it, and the door that you're trying to get to is at the top of it, and I'm just like, fucking hell. I've got to walk all that way. I've got to avoid a fucking hamster in a ball. Some hula girl's going to distract me at some point. I'm going to start dancing. So it's going to take a while. So yeah, the fast forward button on that, it was an absolute godsend. I'm a fast-paced game kind of player. I like my games to be speedy and quick, and I don't do things slow very often. I just couldn't cope with it.
Oh, okay. But other than that, how did you find it?
It's a roguelite, isn't it?
Yeah. Like I said before, I think we touched on it very briefly. I'm not sure if it made the edit or not, but the randomized elements of it, like the procedurally generated levels, the pick up, the power up things that you get being completely random and then getting randomized again just to piss you off. But it was a roguelike certainly before I knew what rogue was and a roguelike. I
think it seems to be, because I had a little bit of search around, because I had that same thought, is this the first? And it's certainly on consoles, it looks like it might be sort of roguelite being the optional, not roguelike, because they are two different things. I'm not going to go into it. You have to Google it because it gets very, very dull.
Mm-hmm. Starts very dull, doesn't get very dull.
Rogue itself was a game with fucking ASCII characters, so you know you're going down a dark path before you even start. It looks like it was pretty much either the first or among the first. It certainly would have been being developed alongside these other games that could also possibly have been the first. The whole Rogue thing, it depends on the game for me whether I like it or not.
Yeah.
Hades is one of the best games of recent years by a long, long way for me, but I couldn't get into the Binding of Isaac at all.
Okay.
It just really depends on the game.
Yeah, I've got Binding of Isaac. I don't think I've played it much.
Yeah, it's well loved and for good reason, but I couldn't get on with it. Hades, on the other hand, is just immaculate. It's one of the best games ever made. To the point where I can't quite get how I feel about the sequel. Mm-hmm. It's one of those things like, I'm going to be excited for it because it's Hades, it's more Hades, but at the same time, what if it's not good? But yes, anyway, I was really surprised that it was a roguelike. I wasn't expecting that at all.
Did you have any prior knowledge of it at all before playing it?
So I definitely saw it before, but I had this weird memory of seeing the overworld and Toejam and or Earl wandering around on it. It's not the overworld at all, is it? This is what I mean.
It's the world.
It's the world. I remember thinking that this was the overworld, and then my skewed memory got to a door, and that took you to the level.
Oh, okay.
But obviously the doors are just how it would have been the lift, how you travelled from one place to the next. So yeah, that's how vague my memory was. It was a bit wrong. Mm-hmm. But I did like it. There's a lot to admire about it. One of the things is it's how kind of joyous it is.
Yeah.
And just how pacifist it is. I love the fact that you're the aliens and the humans are the pricks.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
Well, not all of them are pricks.
Oh, obviously not, no, but
there's
Jesus.
Dr. Carrot, or whatever the fuck his name is.
I think it is Dr. Carrot, isn't it?
It's something like that, yeah. And the opera singer.
I didn't come across the opera singer.
Oh, the opera singer's brilliant.
What does the opera singer do?
She just sort of screams, sings.
Well, like real opera singers, though.
Yeah, well, yeah. She sings incredibly loudly. I
thought I was going to, hate it.
Really?
Genuinely. I played it for a little bit and I thought, this is not for me. It was reminding me of terrible Spectrum platformers. Mm-hmm. In that, you're on a level and the things that are, the game could supposed to be a fucking Western, and it would be a burning carrot chasing you around. So a completely irrelevant thing.
Yeah.
Bouncing around the screen in a random way, and you had to try and avoid them. And I hated those games.
Mm-hmm.
And there were lots and lots of them. And it reminded me of that, first off.
Yeah.
I thought, this is just some random fucking art that they've thrown together, and it's just going to chase me across the screen as I run away in my super high tops. But obviously it's not that. No. But that's just, I say, it took me a while. I did have to have 2 or 3 goes to get over that, because I was genuinely thinking, this is terrible. Like, genuinely, like, this is a bad game. What is this nonsense about? Why does everybody like this game? I tell you what else as well. I couldn't tell, and I think this is probably 30 odd years of time causing this confusion, whether it was loving and genuinely, happily 90s, or whether it was being cynically kind of pretend because of time. And then I know it came out in that time, but it's not. It's just being quite joyfully 90s. He's the developer, whose name I can't remember, which is tragic. There's 2 of them. Greg Johnson, is it? Something like that?
Yeah, Greg Johnson.
Yeah, and his mate.
Greg Johnson was the lead designer. Mark Vorsanger.
That's it.
Was the programmer.
From what I can tell, it was sort of broken down as an ideas man and a makes it happen man.
Yep.
Which is kind of like me and my wife. That's what she does. Greg in particular is just very much, all the games he does they're kind of pacifist. They're kind of, just, and I've got a lot of time for that. And I think it's
unusual and it's nice.
Yeah.
It's a nice change of pace. You're not bashing the same fucking button over and over and over again to fire whatever random laser beam your ship or person shoots from its orifices.
It got me thinking about what other pacifist games there are. What other sort of joyfully pacifist games there are. Can you think of any?
We talked very, very briefly about the isometric games of the 8-bit era.
Yes.
They're very pacifist.
Yeah.
Because you, generally speaking, don't even have any, like, offensive abilities. You jump over things, you avoid things, you run past things. Yeah, I don't know. You could probably get to put together a list eventually, but I'm sure there's some out there.
No, I think that's a really good shout. I think more modern. I think Jet Set Radio falls into that camp.
Yeah.
Because you are getting shot at. You've got attack helicopters coming at you, and all you're doing is spray painting them.
Yeah, the reaction in that seems to be a little disproportionate to the crime you're committing, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, whoa, hang on a second.
But I think more than anything, that was the game that came to mind the most in terms of feel.
Yeah.
Because Jet Set Radio is so happy and so upbeat and so just chilled out. And you don't shoot anything, And so that came to mind. And also, the music is fantastic in Toejam Earl.
That's the thing I remember the most.
Is that?
Yeah, I can hum the main sort of beat bit to Toejam Earl still now. Before I picked up and played it recently.
Yeah.
Almost note for note. It's in my head, but it's almost note for note.
That's the best place to be note for note, because nobody can tell you you're not.
Yeah, definitely.
Have you heard the mashup of the Toejam Earl theme tune and the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air theme tune?
No, but I can imagine they're quite similar.
Yeah, I mean, it just fits perfectly. It's bizarre. It's not even like a mashup where they've had to make any effort. They've just gone channel 1, channel 2, slap. I'm just trying to think of some others. And I think, as much as you say, these are the old isometric platformers and things they didn't have that sort of outwardly passive. That was just the game.
Well, it was more the avoidance of being killed by something.
Yeah.
Not necessarily anything else, but something like Lemmings. Yeah. You're trying to rescue as many of the lemmings as possible.
Yes, I guess so, yeah.
And there is actually a massive downside to losing too many, because you only carry over the ones that lived from the previous level.
Then you get to a point where you can't really continue very well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a shout. I'm
trying to think. I've got a feeling that the Dizzy games, you have no form of violent interactions with anything. They're very pacifist.
Yeah, as much as there are games where that are pacifist, you don't do anything. There are games where you wouldn't expect that, like Tetris is a pacifist game, but it doesn't really fit because you're not...
Yeah, but you're not controlling a person, you're not controlling a character, are you?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I've come up quite quickly with Hero on the 2600, amongst other things. But that's you're a little guy with a helicopter backpack and you're rescuing people who are trapped chap down mines. So that's very pacifist. That's very much.
Is it Choplifter?
Yeah.
Early arcade game. Don't you rescue people in that?
You do.
Without necessarily shooting.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's a good shout. That's we got. I want slightly more modern games. Bodacious the Giant's quite cool.
What's that?
Bodacious the Giant's like a real-time world-building game.
Okay.
You play as this massive giant and there's all these people around you and you wander around and you basically manipulate the earth. So you basically sink it down so that water comes in, or you raise it up to make mountains, to make these little characters. Right? It's very, very cool, very nice. And he's a bright yellow giant character who's very happy and smiley, and that's got a similar sort of vibe.
That sounds a lot like Reus.
I don't know that.
Reus. You're a giant god type thing.
And
you have to manipulate the terrain to help people.
Yeah, that's the vibe.
Have you ever heard of a game called Dwarf Romantic?
Heard of it, to quote a guy not so far away.
A podcast celebrity.
Yeah.
No, Dwarf Romantic is one of the all-time most relaxing games, and also quite infuriating, that you'll ever play. Basically, you get a hexagonal tile that you put down, and it can have either... It's kind of like an old board game. Bit like Carcassonne or something like that. And you can have, like, on the 6 edges, it can either be water, grassland, forest, or like a village.
Okay.
And it's random. It just generates these tiles randomly, and you have to spin them round and sort of link things up and make, like, big forests or a big town or a waterway system or a railway system. And that's great. Costs like £3. And if you get anything more than a few hours out of it, you've had your money's worth. Definitely. But that's really good. That's really relaxing. Yeah,
there was a game, Townscaper, I think.
Yeah, it's not really a game, is it? I've got that.
No.
That's beautiful. That's a similar sort of vibe.
Yeah, I got that I played that first in VR.
Okay.
Which is lovely in VR. It's exactly the same game. It's just, it feels, obviously, in VR, sometimes things can feel a bit more immersive.
I'm just looking through trying to find something that's vaguely similar in tone. There's very little.
Yeah, they're very much their own thing, aren't they? I think the Rayman games have a similar tone, but they're not as passive, so it's a bit more standard platformy.
I've seen one of them on, I think it's the Wii U, and every like third level there's like a musical level. Have you seen those?
That's Rayman Legend. So Rayman Origins and Rayman Legends are fantastic. I stand by. Rayman Origins has probably got the slightly better level design and a slightly I just think sort of better flow about the way it works. Rayman Legends kind of doesn't piece together quite as neatly, although it is brilliant still. Don't let me knock it as I won't, but Origins, I think, probably for standard side-scrolling platformers might be my favourite ever.
Really?
It's fantastic. And they say it's just so joyful, and you're absolutely right. That one in particular, I think Origins is the one that sticks with me. It's just brilliant game. And yeah, full of joy, full of fun, full of just being really creative, fast, brilliant games. Untitled Goose Game.
Yeah.
That's all. I love that game.
That is a work of genius. I love that game.
And again, that's very much, and the vibe. I think something that it's got that upbeat, happy vibe that Toejam Earl has got. It couldn't be a much more different game to Toejam Earl, but it has. It does have that happy kind of cool vibe about it.
Yeah, it's an interesting choice. I like that.
What about Ape Escape?
Ooh.
It's bright, it's happy, it's colourful. You don't actually kill anything. You just capture them with your. What's your Ape Escape fact, Dave?
My Ape Escape fact.
You had the.
Oh yes, it was the first game released that used every single button on the PlayStation DualShock pad.
And both sticks.
Yes.
It is one of only 2 games released for the PlayStation that you can't play without a dual analog controller. Do you know what the other one is?
RC Stuntcopter.
You fucker, I didn't think you'd know that. Well done.
Yes. And do you know why I remember that?
Why?
Because Dave Perry, not that one, of Shiny Entertainment. In an interview, I remember him saying he used to fly remote-controlled helicopters, and the day that he heard Sony were making a dual analog controller, he thought, ooh, awesome. I'm going to make my hobby into a game.
And every bit as fucking difficult as well.
Do you remember what the tutorial level is?
Hit the broadside of a barn.
It is hit the side of a barn.
It is fantastic. There was lots and lots I liked about Toejam Earl.
Good, I'm glad. I'd hate the idea of recommending something that you'd never played before. You play it and you hate it.
Yeah. At the same time, I don't think I'm going to play it again.
No, I wouldn't expect you to sink hundreds of hours into it or anything.
No.
Like I said, I've got very, very fond memories of it, probably because I only played it for a weekend.
Those are the things, aren't they? I think we may have mentioned previously. A lot of my favourite games ever, I've only played once or twice.
Yeah.
There are some of my other favourite games ever that I've played hundreds of times, but some of them just once or twice. And I don't think I'll ever see the end of Toejam Earl.
No.
And I'm not sure. I picked up the sequel,
Panic on Funkatron.
With the I did mean to play it, but never actually got round to it.
Apparently, it's not very good.
Well, here's the thing, right? And from my sort of research and interneting that I've done, at the time, everyone said it wasn't good.
Mm-hmm.
Now, everyone revisiting it is saying, do you know what? This is actually good. It's just not like Toejam Earl.
Yeah.
And it's that thing. And my wife's the best person for this because she just says, more is more. Why complain?
Mm.
And just because it's not like Toejam Earl doesn't mean it's not good.
Yeah.
Which is absolutely valid, isn't it?
What do? Do you rehash the original game, add a few extra characters, call it number 2, chuck it out?
Yeah.
Or do you do something different? They obviously went down the route of doing something different.
Yeah, I mean, not for any will of their own. This was pressure from the publishers, from Sega, to do something, because everything was a platformer, a side-scrolling platform at that point. So it's do a side-scrolling platformer, please.
Well, it's the pedigree. It's Sega's pedigree, isn't it?
But you're right. I think the sort of the image, certainly around the Mega Drive time, was side-scrolling platformers. That's what people wanted, so that's what they were told to make. So they made Panic on Funkatron.
I would imagine that the home consoles, the Mega Drive, SNES, it's probably what they did very well. And it was probably quite easier to make those games.
It's beautiful, though. It's a great looking game, because Toejam Earl isn't. For all its good things, it's not a long way off being an 8-bit game. It's very simple. Lots of empty space. Whereas Panic on Funkatron is a really, really good looking game.
Oh, okay.
They look like, you put them side by side, and it looks like an 8-bit game and a 16-bit game, as you think of a sort of late generation 16-bit games. I mean, really pretty. But yeah, it is this weird thing that you look at reviews from the time and they're just like, no, we don't like this. This isn't what we wanted. Which is one of my least favourite things. That you get it from internet people more than you do publications these days. But that I don't want this. Like, this isn't it's not my Toejam Earl, all that sort of bollocks. Fucking hate it. And that's what it was. It was lots of that. This is just another platform. But when you actually I didn't play it enough to really form an opinion of it. I must have played it for about 30 seconds at most. But it does seem that when people are revisiting it now, they're saying, actually, this is really, really good.
Yeah.
It's a really good, but apparently it gets too hard. And even the third one, which is on the Xbox, I think, was originally planned for the Dreamcast.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's planned for Dreamcast, and then obviously the Dreamcast died before the game came out. Because 2 years is a very short time in game development, and that's how long the Dreamcast existed.
Only the good die young.
Yeah, bless it. Pour one out for the Dreamcast.
Mm-hmm.
You can get hold of the Dreamcast version. It's out there in the world, and it's not. It does, after a while it breaks. Apparently, you can play it for a little while.
Early code.
Yeah, and people are disappointed in that, because apparently people who have played it say that it's very, very good, and it's very much like Toejam Earl in 3D.
Yeah.
On the Dream, I mean, they are a perfect fit for the Dreamcast, aren't they?
Oh yeah, they're great.
I mean, that is
bright, brash, colourful characters.
Yeah, that whole Sega Dreamcast vibe, it's just perfect, and that's a real shame. But it made it out on the Xbox, because as quite a lot of cancelled Dreamcast games did end up on the original Xbox. And apparently that was the same thing. People at the time, oh my god, it's another 3D platformer, bored of those, can't be bothered with that. Revisiting it now, actually apparently it's quite good.
Yeah.
which I think is really interesting. I think it's there's something there, I think, where it's just there's a purity of approach, that joyfulness just comes through, and it's so rare that I think when you do come across it, even I say Toejam Earl's fucking, what is it, 30, 35 years old? 91?
91. 33 years old.
33 years ago, which is mad. And I played it for the first time recently, and it's that joyfulness, that happiness that really comes across. And I think if that's the same with the other games, then that's what people are responding to in retrospect. Because the 90s was a brilliant time and everybody was happy, and it was, It was.
I think they fit well as alternative versions of Bill and Ted, because that was late 80s, but not cynical. They're sort of
absolutely
naive, fun-loving characters in a world that isn't horribly cynical. The world they exist in is a fun place. Even quote unquote the bad things that happen to them still have an element of fun to them, like beating death at chess and then battleships. I've always thought it was Flavor Flav and Chuck D, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because he's got the clock. He's got the clock. Yeah. Now that I think about it. Should have got Chuck D and Flavor Flav to voice it.
Yeah, how good would that be?
Chuck D's voice is smooth as silk.
Talking about the Xbox version, I don't like it when we talk about games that neither of us have played on this, but apparently because it's got voices, but it's got voices in that early thing where they are a lot and they repeat themselves a lot, and it's one of those things where it's great to start off with and you think this is brilliant, and apparently they're really well knitted into the characters, but then once you've heard the same thing 15 times in the level, it's just like, right, how do I turn this off now?
Yeah.
I might actually see if I can find the ISO for the Dreamcast version, because I think I would like to see that.
Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, because I just think it's a real shame, because I talk quite a lot about how there are games that fit perfectly with consoles. When we did Tetris, it's perfect for the Game Boy.
Yeah.
There are games that just fit perfectly with the hardware, one way or another, even if it's just through nostalgia rather than any real reason. It does exist. It is out there, and I think Toejam Earl would have been perfect for the Dreamcast. So I'd like to see that. So I might see if I can dig that out.
Well, one of the big problems that the Dreamcast had is that they didn't bring back any of their old franchises, did they?
Well, they had Sonic, didn't they?
So much to go back into. I mean, Golden Axe, Streets of Rage. The list is never ending. I think that they made some really, really poor choices.
There are literal books written about why the Dreamcast died, and Sega in general, and I think we probably can't quite get to that in our limited knowledge.
Yeah.
But there was lots of things. I mean, the EA Sports franchises is a big part of why.
Yeah, they weren't supported, were they?
And basically the death of the arcades as well. They were already on their way down, and the Dreamcast was sort of what's the word? Double down on bringing the arcade experience into your home. And it was probably dead by 2002.
One of the reasons I really wanted to pick Toejam Earl, because it's specifically a Mega Drive game.
Yes.
It came out on nothing else, as far as I'm aware. There may have been a Master System port, because it was very early in the Mega Drive days.
No, it is Mega Drive only.
Yeah.
So yeah, the first one's, well, other than PC now, obviously, but that's after the fact. But
emulated Mega Drive, though.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, so it's just, I think the first two were Mega Drive only, but it was only because Sega never owned the property. That was just the deal that was struck up. So yeah, it moved over to Xbox when the Dreamcast died.
Yeah.
And then there's been a remake.
Back in the Groove.
Have you played that?
I haven't. I only found out about it this week.
Oh, right.
I may have at some point heard somebody say, "Did you know there's a new Toejam Earl game?" To which I would have said, "Oh, nice." And then never thought to even look at it. But yeah, I'll have a look, definitely. Like you say, updating those characters into a world where they're voiced and they say the same 12 things over and over and over again might not be a great thing.
Well, it's apparently, again, it's another, like everything, it gets a lot of love. I think it was a Kickstarter game, so obviously it had enough love to get funded.
Yeah. Have you seen the list of credits for it?
Is it like years long?
No. It's not too bad. But director is Greg Johnson still, original guy. Producers Matt Conn, just some guy. Macaulay Culkin.
No fucking way.
Yep, Macaulay Culkin was the producer on the new Toejam Earl game.
That's amazing.
I don't know why, and I'm not going to look it up. Just okay, yeah, fair enough.
That's great. I love that. But yeah, apparently it's a remake of Toejam and Earl, specifically that game world and that playstyle and all that, but with bringing in elements from the other games that people loved and that people wanted. So that sounds quite cool. Apparently there's like a dozen characters or something you can choose from. There was
Okay.
DLC.
I have always wondered what the extended world of Toejam and Earl would be like, because it's so weird and it's so interesting.
Yeah, it's quite interesting to me that the Xbox, the third one on the Xbox, and this is something, because did you have an Xbox?
No, I had the Dreamcast, did eventually get a PS2, and that was the last console I owned. I have got an Xbox 360, but
yeah,
so few games on it.
I didn't have an Xbox when it was current.
No, I don't have gorilla hands to be able to use that controller. I remember picking up the controller in Virgin Megastore, I think, or somewhere, and just, oh, nope, let's put that back. Jesus Christ. It's like the Americans went over to Japan, picked up the SNES controller and went, oh, that's a little bit small. How much bigger should we make it? 20 times.
Oh, dear.
Yeah. Who should we get to ergonomically design the new Xbox controller for? Andre the Giant's still alive, right? We'll get a celebrity tie-in. They're just horrible.
That was the first one. They did do a later version that was smaller. But yeah, the Duke, they call it, don't they?
To be fair, the Xbox 360 pad is one of the best controllers ever made.
I think so too.
Bar none.
So Toejam and Earl. Toejam, 3 legs, 2 eyes like a snail.
Yeah.
Earl.
Big yellow thing.
Big yellow thing.
There's a very, very long history going back probably hundreds of years of a double act of characters, one of which is kind of small and slight, the other is a larger character. So think of like Laurel and Hardy, Asterix and Obelix.
Yeah.
And probably through traditions of theatre, probably going back hundreds and hundreds of years, always been a thing.
Yeah.
It seems to be what people like.
Yeah, interesting. Like genuinely interesting. There must be some sort of psychological thing going on there.
I was going to say deep-rooted psychological thing.
Yeah, way beyond my comprehension, and always will be, but interesting nonetheless.
Interesting enough, there is a planned Toejam and Earl movie.
No.
Yeah, announced a couple of years ago. Don't know if anything's actually happened with it.
It wasn't Mark What's-His-Face that said that, was it? The co-developer of Toejam and Earl.
Don't think so.
He is apparently a massive troll and used to make stuff up in interviews.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just for the fun of it, which I think is brilliant. Have you heard the story about Flowjam and Twirl?
No.
So, until very recently, this story was going around, and it's been you'll find it in magazines, old magazines of the time, and all the stuff. There was a story going around that they were the original name. What they were supposed to be called was Flowjam and Twirl.
Right.
But Mark What's-His-Face, the other developer, misheard it. And that's where Toejam and Earl comes from. And when it went to Sega, they heard it. And, well, Toejam and Earl, we like that. They've got to keep that now, not Flowjam and Twirl. Absolute bollocks.
It sounds like bollocks.
Mark What's-His-Face just made it up. Sorry, Mark What's-His-Face. I just can't remember your name.
Mark Vorsanger.
Mark Vorsanger was apparently just a massive troll and used to make stuff up in interviews just to be funny. And he came up with this story that's where Toejam and Earl come from. Another story he used to tell apparently was that to choose which presents went into the game, he wrote them all down on cards and then threw his cat at them. And whichever one the cat landed on was the ones that ended up in the game.
Jesus.
So it's a shame he's not really making games anymore because he sounds like a great bloke. But yeah, I love that story. It came out because I think it was only last year. There was a website or a gaming Twitter account put that story, that Flowjam and Twirl story, on Twitter, and Greg Johnson is active on Twitter quite a lot, and he replied to it and just said, "This is complete nonsense. Mark just made it up." So yeah, that's what he was like. He was just a bit of a prick like that, which is brilliant. And it's only very recently that it's kind of been revealed to be nonsense.
Excellent. I love it.
Yeah, brilliant stuff.
But we could very well get a Toejam Earl movie at some point. In development with Amazon.
Oh, okay.
With Stephen Curry producing for his production company Unanimous
The
Media.
basketball player.
That's Steph Curry. Oh, it is. It is, actually. You take the piss, but it is.
Is it really?
It's, yes. So you had Macaulay Culkin produced Toejam Earl 4. And Steph Curry, the greatest three-point shooter of all time, is producing the Toejam Earl movie. What
That's brilliant.
kind of a world do we live in? Weird.
Amazing.
Yeah.
But that's actually in production or in pre-production.
Well, yeah, it's in development,
Mm.
so it might never come out. There's been the planned live-action remake of Akira in development for the last 30 years.
Since 1989, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, originally it was going to be fucking Keanu Reeves playing Canada. Show how long that's been around.
Oh, thank fuck it hasn't.
I hope it never comes out.
Well, again, what if it's good?
If it is, fine.
Yeah.
No problem. I
I've
don't
got-
expect it to be.
No, I've got no problem with people. I wish people had more fucking original ideas. I really do.
Yeah.
But if you're going to remake something, it might be good.
But that's the thing. Remake something that wasn't successful.
Yeah.
Take an old IP that is dead. Like we were talking about, what was it, Captain Commando?
Yeah.
Captain Commando as a franchise has done nothing for 30 years.
Yeah.
It's just sitting there at Capcom, waiting to have a new game developed. And it doesn't even need to be a brawler. Just set a game within that universe, that
Yeah.
over-the-top comic book universe. It'd be great fun.
Yeah.
But it's just sitting there doing nothing.
I guess the point is that the reason why these remakes get made of the well-known games is so that they can play off that, the well-knownness of it. So remaking something that wasn't successful, not really a thing. But, I'll tell you what's a good one. Steve McQueen film about a bank robbery. What's that
The
film?
Getaway?
No, it's
Thomas Crown Affair.
The Thomas Crown Affair.
Yeah, great film. Actually, the remake's not bad.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I think arguably better because the pace of the original is off. Everything happens in the first half an hour, and then it takes another hour and a half to, a bit of plot that you could probably do in 15 minutes. The remake is better paced. It's better put together, and Rene Russo's character is more rounded out than as Faye Dunaway in the original.
I want to say Faye Dunaway. I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure.
and it's just, and I genuinely think it might be a better film, which is
Pierce Brosnan, the remake.
Yes, yeah. Which might be sacrilege because I think obviously it's not as stylish as the original, because I think that's what people really remember about the original Thomas Crown Affair is the split screen and all the cool stuff that went on. It's so stylish and the music, very, very cool film. And I don't think the remake's as stylish, but I think it's a better film. I'm putting it out there. It's a better film. And it's got Cinnamon by Nina Simone on the soundtrack, which is the first time I ever heard that song was on the soundtrack, Thomas Crown Affair. And it's just one of the great songs.
It is good. What year was Bullet?
67, top of my head.
Same year, 68.
Oh, that's not bad though, is it? Come on, I need a point for that. Half a point?
I'm just trying to think which came first, because Bullet had the split screen thing as well.
Yes. I think it was Thomas Crown Affair.
As soon as you said it, I thought split screen, Bullet, Stephen Queen, probably the same year.
Yeah. I think Thomas Crown Affair I think it's better known in Thomas Crown Affair. It's a Steve McQueen thing. Maybe he just likes it because it's in Le Mans, I think, the racing film he did.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's in that as well.
I wonder if it's just a thing of that time, that era. Because there was TV shows did it as well, didn't Mission Impossible, or what's a good one? The Man from U.N.C.L.E.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they did split screen. And going back before that, it's probably been around a while. Because didn't Hitchcock do it a bit?
I don't think so.
There's a very famous 50s film during the really harsh McCarthy era.
Yeah.
There was the code, wasn't there, that you couldn't do, you couldn't show certain things, you couldn't portray certain things. There's a Hitchcock film where there's two unmarried characters and they weren't allowed to show them sharing a bed. So it did a split screen thing of them talking on the phone where basically it looks like they're in bed.
I can imagine, because Hitchcock was very, very clever with that code. He did at the end of North by Northwest. Apparently, the people were only allowed to share a kiss for a it was like 2 seconds. It was like, so he's got this, the end of North by Northwest is the two characters sharing a kiss for, it is exactly 2 seconds. It's as long as it can go. And then it cuts to a train going into a tunnel, which you don't have to be Freud. Do you know what I mean? Did you say you've played some Toejam Earl this week?
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely loved it.
Did you get far?
I got about 8 levels in, I think. I was basically remembering how to play it, first of all, and spending an inordinate amount of time getting to a point where I could reveal rocket boots, have some spare, drop back down to the first level, and rocket boot up into the far right-hand corner where the secret level is.
Oh, okay.
I can still remember this to this day. As soon as I started playing it, on the very first level, it's just like the sea, and you're on this tiny little island, and you just go into the elevator.
Yeah.
If you can get rocket boots, Icarus wings, or the rubber ring.
Yeah.
If you go to the far top right of that level, there's basically a hole in the ground, and you drop down it, and there's like a tiki cocktail shack, and a few of the hula girls.
Oh, nice.
And a hot tub. And it's always been one of my favorites. It doesn't really do anything. They just sit there and like relax for a bit. That's where my choice of cocktail comes in.
Ah, mine too. That's going to be interesting. Yeah, there's when I just looked just now on Steam with the remake. What's it called? Back in the Groove. Something like that. Back in the Groove. I thought that was a Disney sequel.
That's the Emperor's New Groove, isn't it?
The Emperor's New Groove. That's what I'm thinking of.
Fuck's sake.
But the trailer for that is Earl in a hot tub with two of the hula girls.
There we go.
That's brilliant. What a great shout that is. Love that. What's really annoying is on my first or second playthrough, I got the rubber ring. I've not had it since. Like really early doors as well, so I could have dropped down. Damn it, I should have Googled that.
It has very little use.
Well, if I can get to a secret level with hula girls and a tiki bar, I mean, best level ever.
Yeah, rocket boots is a bit of a pain in the arse because they last longer than it takes to get up there. So you have to kind of go around in a bit of a circle around it. Well, a square. And wherever you get dumped in the sea might be too far away from the thing to swim to it. The rubber ring and the Icarus wings are the better choice. But how many times did you fall off a level and drop down?
Enough times to think it was my least favourite thing about the game.
And how many times did you get pushed off the edge of a level by a fucking little devil or a rose bush or a...
Fucking...
My favourite enemy in the game is the mailbox monster.
Oh, that's because it's...
I fucking love them.
What do they call them?
It's a mimic.
Mimic, that's it, yeah.
Yeah. But the noise it makes, it just sort of goes, boogie, boogie, boogie.
Yeah.
Fuck. Wait till you're right on it as well before it does it.
I came to Mimics very recently. There was a PS, because I don't play a lot of that sort of game, do I, really?
You should just have a Google of Dark Souls Mimics.
Yeah?
They're fucking terrifying.
Oh, yeah. So I think it was Vanillaware games where I came across them.
Oh, okay.
Either Grand Knight's History on the PSP or Dragon's Crown on the PS3. And I'd never seen Mimics before them, and both of those games are probably games that I played in the last 5 or 6 years. I would imagine maybe a little bit longer than that, maybe 10, but I'd never really come across them before that. But yeah, they're the ones in Toejam Earl are very cool. And it was, a way in. I'd seen the normal mailboxes a good few times before I came across my first Mimic, and I was like, made me jump out of my skin, I'm not going to lie.
I'd forgotten about them. So like you say, the first, like the second level, I think intentionally, every few levels is like a created level, like a handcrafted level. I think it's all the ones with the ship pieces on, if I remember right. And there is intentionally very early on a mailbox. So you, like you say, you see it as a good thing. Like, I can get a present there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fuckers.
That is very cool. So I didn't, obviously I have not played it very much. I've not seen a lot of power-ups from Toejam Earl. I assume, well, power-ups. They're not always power-ups, sometimes power down, aren't they?
Yeah.
So I got the Thundercloud, which is a prick.
Yeah.
And I got Tomato Rain, which is a prick.
You can get the only offensive weapon in the game. There's a tomato catapult.
Yes, I got that as well.
Which you can shoot things with. That's the only, like, even semblance of violence.
I was going to say, if that's all you got, you know what I mean?
That's it.
That's pretty cool, isn't it? And I obviously got because you get a shit ton of high tops off the bat, don't you, when you first start? For a bit of speed, which is, godsend, because the game's too fucking slow.
Did you chuckle to yourself the first time you're running down a road and it went meep meep?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd forgotten about that. That was brilliant. Also, I'm not sure, but it could very well be the first ever game that had a dedicated sneak button.
I mean, it's just an action button, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's because it's the button to do anything, but it's when you've got nothing.
When you've got nothing on, it sneaks.
Yeah.
And you can sneak up on anything sleeping.
Can you?
Yeah.
So
quite often you'll find the hamsters and the bulls are sleeping if you see them.
Yeah.
With enough time to spare.
I didn't read it wrong, did I? It was Father Christmas with a jetpack, right?
There is Father Christmas with a jetpack. If you sneak up on him, he drops loads of presents.
Yeah, so I the first time I came across him was through a doorway.
Mm-hmm.
So I opened a doorway and it appeared on a tiny island with Father Christmas on it.
Oh, yeah.
And he just took off straight away, but he dropped loads of presents.
Mm-hmm.
But then I've seen him 4 or 5 times since. You come onto a... Does he do anything?
He just drops presents. He just gives you presents. I think that's potentially the in-canon thing for all the presents.
Yeah, I guess that kind of makes sense.
Mm. Such a weird game. I love it. I really do.
So I got the wings.
Yeah.
And obviously the boots. And I did see the catapult. And you can get tomatoes and just throw them, can't you?
Yeah, I think so. Not as good as the catapult.
No, exactly. Don't go as fast or as far.
Mm.
But if the catapult's impossible to aim anyway, so how much?
Because obviously you get used to it if you played the game a fair amount.
Yeah. But I can't think what else I saw. If it was, is there anything in there that stands out? You remember most of it? A really good power up, something you liked?
I'm trying to think what there is. There's one called rose bushes, which is kind of like laying caltrops behind you. Basically spawn a rose bush as you're walking. So if you're being chased by something along those narrow pathways, just spawn a rose bush behind you and it gets stuck. They're ostensibly useless until they're contextually useful, which isn't very often.
I got one where I started bouncing around like a rabbit, hopping everywhere. So and it didn't seem to do anything other than make me walk funny for a bit. Which I guess, Toejam, that's probably all it did, right?
Yeah. Yeah, there's like a pogo stick, isn't there?
It was kind of, I don't think it was a pogo stick. I was just sort of bouncing like all feet together as he moved around, and that was it. Didn't really seem to achieve anything. Mm. And sometimes when I was walking around, fireworks started to go off. Oh no, that's when you get upgraded.
That's when you level up.
Yeah, I did figure that out.
The little thing in the bottom corner, you start off as a, whatever it is, a dweeb.
Wiener,
that's it, of course. Yeah. And you go up to Poindexter.
Yeah.
I remember actually sitting with a dictionary looking up the word Poindexter when playing this, because I thought, what the hell is that?
These are not, both of those, Wiener and Poindexter, not UK words.
Yeah, very American. Well, Poindexter had been around for quite a while, apparently, just not in use here.
Yeah, absolutely. And we never called anyone a Wiener.
No. But you knew what it was.
I guess so.
I didn't even know what Poindexter meant. I remember looking it up thinking, a what?
What does Poindexter mean? It's
basically like an old word for geek.
Oh, is it?
Yes, it's a studious, intelligent person.
Okay.
Who's dull. It's a very old term for nerd or geek.
Millhouse.
Yeah, basically.
That's Millhouse.
There is an episode of The Simpsons where Homer calls him a Poindexter. So it is specifically Millhouse.
Yeah, absolutely. Is that the one where they... So it's one of the Lisa Simpson stories where she gets a boyfriend or starts hanging around with the cool crowd. They go on holiday somewhere and they're playing a card game of some sort, and Homer absolutely rails on Millhouse, who's gone with them for some reason.
Summer of 42.
Summer of 4'2".
Yeah, that's a good episode.
Yeah, it is. I like it a lot as well. But yeah, Millhouse is along with him for some reason, and Homer absolutely turns on him at some point and just rips into him.
It could well be.
I think the dud card in this game looks exactly like Millhouse.
Oh yeah, they're playing like a Happy Families dating game or something, aren't they?
That's it.
It's the nerd. He goes, looks like you, Poindexter.
Oh,
the shit you remember.
Yeah, back when The Simpsons was good. That's a long time ago now. Shall we talk about cocktails?
Let's.
As is traditional, Dave. You can go first.
You keep saying as is traditional. Surely it's just as is tradition.
As is traditional. As is our tradition. Or as is traditional. I think that's how that works. Anyway, as we usually do, you can go first. Don't steal my cocktail.
I'll try to every week, just to see the look on your face. So my cocktail is, as I said earlier, there is a secret level in the top right hand corner of level 1. You can only reach with certain power-ups where you drop down into a hole to level 0. And it is actually called level 0 as well.
Oh, okay.
Which I always thought was really cool.
Yeah.
And it's just a tiny patch of land with a hot tub, a tiki bar, and some hula girls. And I've always thought that was such a cool little thing to put in the game because it serves no purpose. You don't get anything for it. It's just a weird little secret thing to put in the game.
An Easter egg.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Easter egg before there are Easter eggs in games.
Yeah.
The only cocktail I could really think of that would fit that scenario really well is the pina colada.
Ah, of course.
Just to break with tradition, it's not one I've not drunk.
Yeah,
I have had one, and I do like them, actually. It's my kind of thing.
I mean, what's not to like? They're a very drinkable cocktail, aren't they?
Especially in hot climates.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're on holiday anywhere like that. You've got to have one, at least.
Yes.
For anyone who doesn't know or hasn't ever had one, it's 60 millilitres of light white rum, 15 millilitres of Sagitaba Crystallina Cachacha.
Oh, cachacha.
This is the Difford's recipe, so it may differ slightly to others.
Just cachacha is fine. That's all just branding, isn't it?
I think more often than not, you'll just have white rum, pineapple juice.
Bacardi and pineapple juice. So,
yeah. It's the lazy white Russian again, isn't it?
Yeah,
you can't be bothered to use what it actually is. But yeah, so it's rum, cachacha, pineapple juice, cream of coconut or coconut milk, lime juice, and then some cream or half and half.
Ah.
And then interestingly, Difford's adds 2 drops of saline solution or half a pinch of salt.
Yeah, he does that occasionally, Mr. Difford.
I'm not feeling the adding salt to things.
Well, I think a little bit of that, you won't taste it.
Well, I drink Moretti as my beer of choice.
Yeah.
And Moretti have just released like a version of Moretti with sea salt in it.
Yeah, I saw that advertised.
And it's not as nice.
Okay.
So what was the point? I mean, I don't get it. I can understand, like, you know, when you put like sort of salt around the edge of the rim of a glass, things like that to give it a little something. But yeah, in terms of like an actual ingredient in the drink, I don't really get it. Be interesting to make without and see what the comparison is.
If you get the amount of salt right in a cocktail, in the way that Mr. Difford and other mixologists recommend, it just lifts the flavour a little bit. You don't taste it as salt; it just brings out the flavour of other things.
I was going to say it's probably a reaction, a literal chemical reaction with something.
Well, it is always it's a flavour thing. Adding salt makes things taste better, and it shouldn't make them taste salty. It should just make them taste better, and that's the.
I mean, two drops of saline solution.
It's not a lot, is it?
What, 300 milliliter glass?
Yeah.
You're not going to notice that.
No, absolutely not. I think if it does anything, it will just say it will. You won't even notice the salt, but it will make something else taste better. Mm-hmm. I think is the thing.
Or take the edge off something.
Yeah, well, it's good if you've got if you've got bad coffee, basically. Mm-hmm. Occasionally, I pay quite a lot of money for my coffee on a subscription, and occasionally I run out because it doesn't come quick enough, and I have to have my shit backup coffee. And I just put a couple of grains of salt just in with the coffee in the machine, just to take that bitter edge off, and it really works. Coffee shouldn't taste bitter.
Yeah.
and a bit of salt just takes the edge off, and it really does work. It's like a magic ingredient. It is when you see, if you're the sort of person like I am that watches Great British Menu and MasterChef and shows like that, they always talk about stuff being under-seasoned as a bad thing. And it is all it does. It shouldn't taste salty. It should taste better because of the salt. It makes you salivate. It brings things alive a little bit. And I suspect that's what Mr. Difford is trying to do. Just bring out some flavours in there to make him jump out a bit better.
I wonder if it's the citrus, the sort of acidic taste from the pineapple juice.
I would imagine it probably is. Without this ingredient, I've never made a pina colada at home. I've always bought them when I'm out. You could shortcut it with Malibu. Yeah,
technically.
Malibu is white rum and coconut flavouring, I imagine. There's not any real coconut gone anywhere near it.
Yeah.
It is pretty fucking vile stuff generally. But I guess it can't be. I mean, it's got to be a bit of a shortcut version, hasn't it? If you want to cheapskate it. Yeah, good one. I love it. That's a great show. I've just watched the video of the extra level as well. That looks awesome. I love that. But yeah, I mean, that's just that existing. If someone said to you that, there's that. This is a game, and this is what a game does. And then there's a secret level where you hang out in a hot tub with a couple of hooded girls, and they giggle, and that's it. And it doesn't do anything. That it doesn't do anything is that's Toejam and Earl, isn't it? It's all very much about the vibe. I'm very, very. That's what I loved about it, was the vibe, was the music, was all that thing.
So what did you go for, cocktail-wise?
Cocktail-wise, yes. So yeah, I did say we've gone similar routes, which is awesome. That we've gone similar routes and didn't end up at the same place. My cocktail is called the Dr. Funk.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I was looking down all sorts. I was looking for 90s type stuff, and I was looking for all down that route. But it was the thing that I loved from the beginning with Toejam and Earl was the music. Even at the start when I wasn't a big fan of the gameplay, I loved the music already. There was no way in the world I was gonna not love it. I love that sort of music in general, and I love what it did. It sounds great for a Mega Drive game as well. Sounds brilliant.
Yeah, it holds up.
Yeah, really does. So yeah, the Dr. Funk is it's a cocktail made by a guy called Don Beach. And Don Beach's name wasn't Don Beach. He changed his name to Don Beach. His real name is Ernest Raymond Beaumont Gant.
Obviously,
right? But he is basically what is really interesting about. Obviously, Dr. Funk I picked and found even because I was looking for games that I could relate to the music in the game, because I think it's the best thing about the game, and it is very funk based. And there are a few on Difford's with funk in the name. And this was the one I had the ingredients for, so I went for it. But it's a beautiful, what's the word I'm looking for? Synergy that's come into it, because Don Beach is the inventor of the tiki bar.
Yeah, okay.
He was he'd come about in the early 50s, so he's long dead now. But tiki as a thing, sort of, I guess, kind of kitsch Hawaiian, sort of that whole what we think of as a tiki bar.
Cultural appropriation, you mean?
Basically, yeah. But he invented that. Didn't exist as a thing, and he was very much not being culturally appropriating. I'm sure there's a better way of saying that. It doesn't really matter. There's sort of records from people who worked for him at the time, and that he lived out in the Pacific a lot, and he was very much sensitive to that way of life, and not But when he come back to the US, and he wanted to make a bar and sell drinks to rich Americans in Hollywood. He knew the way to do it was not in a realistic, way, to just sort of take the edges, the fringe, and the periphery of it, and search in that way. And it was a massive success. His first bar was tiny, but he had proper A-list Hollywood stars at the time at it. He wasn't. It was really, really huge. And it was called Don the Beachcomber. Palm Springs.
Nice.
I recommend anybody actually go on Difford's, because there's a little bio of him, and he just sounds like a fascinating bloke. Really, really interesting. In the bar, he had minor birds that just swore all the time. just constantly swearing. But yeah, names. Marlene Dietrich, Clark Gable, Humphrey Bogart, Howard Hughes used to go there. So, proper big name people. And he invented the tiki bar.
Excellent.
And also, There's a bit in here. I'll read it as it is. And because it said, it lived, he appears in harmony with his beachcomber's motto. Right, see if this rings a bell to you. His beachcomber's motto was, of all life's pleasures, deeply drink. At every worry, give a wink. It's much, much later than you think.
Oh, God, that's a song.
Yep.
Enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
Is that bad manners?
No, we know it. It was a cover. I didn't know it was a cover version, but it was the Specials.
Okay.
Did it? Enjoy yourself. But there was a cover. I can't remember who did it first as a song. But it appears that it's come from an old beachcomber's motto of some sort. Which, brilliant stuff. And this is all this. I just think is brilliantly in line with Toejam Earl. This very much. Tiki vibe, him as a man being all about this stuff. I just think he was a bootlegger in his day. It's all very much fascinating, really interesting stuff. But yes, I barely mentioned the cocktail itself. So the Dr. Funk is a bit of a tiki cocktail. It's not full on served in a coconut or anything like that, but it's rum heavy. So you've got 75ml of rum, 15ml of lemon juice, 7.5ml of lime juice, 7.5ml of sugar syrup, and 7.5ml of grenadine. And then just to cap it off and make it a little bit punchy, 5ml of absinthe.
That sounds nice. I like that.
Yeah, I had one earlier. I've got just enough ingredients left to have another one, and I will. And I think this is I've said this a couple of times. This is my sort of my stamp of recommendation. If I make one of these and try it, and I've got enough ingredients left to make another one, and I do, that's it, nailed on. It was lovely. I think a little bit heavy on the grenadine, so I'm going to put less in it next time, probably 5ml. But yeah, so yeah, just as I say, a good chunk of rum, 3 shots of rum, and it's lovely. Really, really tasty, really drinkable, shaken and served over crushed ice. So it's a long drink, not my normal. I normally go for like shorts and my vibe, but properly delicious. I'm glad I put a straw in it, because otherwise I probably just would have downed it. 75ml of rum and 5ml of absinthe, so I downed it would have been a bad shout. But yeah, really, really delicious. The Dr. Funk, that's called. And I would recommend it. Those aren't particularly, other than the absinthe, I guess, not particularly bizarre ingredients or anything like that. And yeah, if you fancy a really interesting read about a really interesting bloke, look up Don Beach, because he sounds like a bit of a legend. I certainly will.
Just going back to the Enjoy Yourself song, It's Later Than You Think. First recorded version came out in 1949.
Fucking hell.
Yep.
That's nuts.
So probably around about the time that he came up with that quote, or stole that quote, or they stole
possibly
that quote.
Yeah, don't know. That's something that's worth looking into the origins of. But there's something else. The Dr. Funk, this cocktail, is named after Dr. Bernard Funk.
It's a real name.
Yeah, it's his real name, apparently.
It sounds like a basketball player.
Dr. Funk. There's Dr. J, isn't there?
There's Dr. J, there's Dr. Hook.
Yeah.
Which is also the band from the 70s.
The fascinating thing is, of this long list of stupidly famous people that Mr. Don Beach seems to come into contact with, Dr. Bernard Funk was Robert Louis Stevenson's physician.
What?
Yeah, it's just, and this is sort of, he prescribed absinthe laced with limeade, and this is kind of where it apparently inspired this cocktail, this Dr. Funk. It kind of come together. Just crazy. But yeah, I'm definitely going to do some reading into our man Don Beach, because he sounds brilliant.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good one.
Yeah.
It's nice to have a bit of a story behind it as well, isn't it?
Yeah, I came across it completely by accident. It was a full-on, the music thing, was the line I was going, and then it turns out I invented the fucking tiki bar, and it turns out there's a tiki bar in Toejam Earl. It just couldn't have worked out better, and it's all completely by accident. But yes, I fully recommend that drink, and very, very tasty indeed. I'm just wondering whether we can find some more Mega Drive games that you've not played. And just because I think we should, you need to have this experience that I've had of playing.
Yeah.
And the Mega Drive, you're right. I don't think we've. It's been a little bit underrepresented, and I think possibly because I never owned one. So what about? So I've got some games here that I picked up and have played a little bit of, and I know are very good, but would like to revisit. So we've already mentioned Gunstar Heroes. You've not played that.
I've seen it now.
Yeah.
Like literally in the last sort of half an hour.
What about Comic Zone? Have you played that?
Comic Zone I haven't played.
So
Again, I don't think I ever played it when it came out.
Yeah. Dynamite Heady?
I know of Dynamite Heady. Didn't have it, never played it.
See, these are, I say, all brilliant games. Oh, I tell you what. How about doing a game that neither of us have played?
Ooh.
That's supposed to be brilliant.
Final Fantasy 9.
There's a Sega Mega Drive game, Mega Drive only, called Rocket Knight Adventures.
Rocket Knight Adventures, okay.
And I say, I put a bit of a punt that you'd never played that. But
never even heard of it.
No, I think we should give that a go.
Okay.
I have it on very good authority that it's a great game.
Yeah, okay.
People I trust have told me it's brilliant.
You trust anybody?
I mean, it's a very small list. I've been recommended some terrible shit in my time. I mean, we both know how I feel about The Matrix, and that was recommended to me as something I would love.
Yeah.
Fucking wankers. Anyway, I reckon we should do Rocket Knight Adventures next.
Okay. It's not on the Steam thing, but I've probably got it on an emulator.
Yeah, exactly. You can emulate it. And I think we should give that a go. We should both play, because I bought it, so I've got it on my list, but I can emulate it because my Mega Drive's in the loft, so I'll emulate it and play it at proper speed as well.
Yeah.
And we should give it a go, and we can come back together, because we are now, again, for our listeners, you probably noticed this time out, actually, we're heading into summer over here in England, if you happen to be in America, or if you're here in England.
The season that's known as summer.
The rainy season formerly known as summer. Thanks, global warming. We're heading into that now, so we're reducing down to a 2-weekly release schedule. So yeah, you'll be hearing from us every couple of weeks rather than every week, which is, I hope that's okay for everyone. I don't think it'll be a problem.
Leave us a comment.
Do you know what? I was about to say, we joke all the time, and we are both very anti this whole like and subscribe, leave a comment, all that sort of shit. If you are concerned about missing an episode, we have got over 50 subscribers on YouTube now, let alone the other methods, and those people won't miss an episode when our schedule gets a bit scrappy, because summer's here and we're going to be in the pub more. So it's, genuinely subscribe, you won't miss something. I won't ask you to like and leave a comment and all that, because if you wanted to, you would have done already. And thank you if you have.
Leave comments if you've got something to say.
Yeah, absolutely. I just hate the whole fucking hounding people to like and subscribe and leave a comment. People only ask you to do that because it helps them get higher in YouTube's algorithm.
Yeah.
If you want to subscribe to us, thank you very much. Really appreciate it, but I'm not going to hound you to do so. And with that, we're about done with Toejam Earl. Next time, as you heard, we'll be talking about Rocket Knight Adventures, a game which neither of us have played. So thanks for listening. I hope you join us next time.